Hello and welcome back to the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Thursday's game. The Lions at Packers should be a fun one. We're going to go through that game, look at ownership, go by position breakdown, and figure out some of the best plays for tonight's showdown game. Before we do, come join us at LionStar. It is only $39.99 per month. Gets you access to all of the stuff we do, all the props tools, all the DFS tools, everything you need to dominate this market. And we've been absolutely crushing it now. And for that $39.99 price, you get it all for all the sports we cover, exactly what you'll see here, and as well as our props tool. All right, now let's get into the fun. So, we got an interesting little slate here. The game is at Lambeau in Green Bay. It is a very nice night, though, in Green Bay, mid-60s, not much wind, so nice little fall football game. We got a close game, 45-point total, and it is only a 2-point spread. So, this game could go either way. The Lions are slightly favored. But they are going away, and Jared Goff generally does not play quite as well away. If we look, minus 32% less fantasy points outdoors. But really, I wanted to start here on the starting lineups, and the reason being is that we got a lot of stuff going on today for injuries. Aaron Jones is questionable, Watson is questionable, and Montgomery is questionable. There's also some question marks on the defensive side, mainly being Jair Alexander, who is also questionable and missed last week. Not sure his status yet. The offensive guys, however, all look like they are going to play. So that is a good situation. I think it is going to add a little more excitement to the game as a whole. So I'm happy they're playing. Now, for today, we will go over the ownership real quick here. I'm going to do more of an overview of the ownership. I don't want to spend too much time on it, being that I think all of this ownership will change dramatically through the day. The reason being is those guys that are questionable, they are now expected to play. And I think ownership on them all comes up. So the data that we have right now is probably a little bit off. And so we're just going to go through the players themselves and kind of do it that way instead of going off ownership today. Just to show you, though, as a little bit of a rundown, obviously the two quarterbacks are the highest projected owned. But 5 of the top 6 players highest owned are Detroit guys. Montgomery's already sneaking up there, even though, just recently was that he is going to play today. So with this, the game is in Green Bay. I think the obvious edge is to probably lean a little bit more to Green Bay doing a little bit better than the field is expecting. So that is how it looks. The Aaron Jones ownership, I think, is going to go way up. I would expect him to be in this range up here. And probably Jaden Reed coming down because Watson is going to play. But all in all, Detroit is getting more of the ownership. And I'm not surprised. I do expect Detroit to win this game. I just don't know by how much. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the matchups and we're going to go one by one by position and kind of give you some breakdowns that way. So Jordan Love versus the Lions. Look, the Lions aren't that great of a defense. Geno tore him up. Mahomes tears up everybody. It's Ritter. Can't put too much into that one. But all in all, Love has a pretty good matchup. He's also getting Aaron Jones back and Christian Watson. I think it is a big boost for Love, and I definitely like him. He has a little bit of rushing upside, which is nice as well. Jared Goff. Look, if Alexander is out, I like Goff and the passing game a lot more. If Alexander's in, he's going to keep Amon-Ra St. Brown, at bay a little bit. Amon-Ra won't go off and won't go nuts. And I think if he does not go nuts, it's going to be hard for Goff to go nuts. So just kind of look at that and judge it and see what happens as more news comes out throughout the day. Now, Jared Goff is fine. He will likely do okay. I just don't love the play. I do like Jordan Love a little bit more. Now, running back wise, I think David Montgomery is in a great spot. He is going to play. That news came out that he was going to play last night. So a pretty good cushion until the actual game just tells me that he is, good to go. And I don't think he's going to get a huge limitation. Now, the role that Montgomery has is one that Jamal Williams did last year, which led to 17 rushing touchdowns. I think the Montgomery role is very valuable in DFS, especially if not many people are going to go there. So I like that very much so. And Green Bay has been a team that you can run on in the past. So it is an interesting spot for me. I think Gibbs is extremely explosive and a great back. But he's likely to only get 40-50% timeshare right in there and probably not much goal line work. So I think it's going to be harder for him to get into the optimal lineup than David Montgomery because of that touchdown upside. Now Gibbs absolutely has the ability to break a slate and break some long runs. So I would not cross him off. He is interesting. Just don't go all full board. Aaron Jones, I like quite a bit. As we've seen, this Packers team absolutely needs him. A.J. Dillon was terrible without him. And the reason why Jones is so interesting is he can just do so much, both catching passes and running with the ball. I think it also actually helps A.J. Dillon a little bit having him there. So, A.J. Dillon, I think he's just a flyer. Hope he gets in the end zone type pick, but I do like Aaron Jones. Now, if we go over to wide receiver, Detroit is missing some secondary pieces, so I do like the Packers receivers quite a bit. I think Dobbs is in for a very good game. He finally got up to 86% of the snaps. He also had 12 targets last week. Now, Christian Watson is back, but I don't think that's really going to affect Dobbs. I think it's going to affect more Reed and some other, deeper Packer pieces. Now, with Watson, I do worry that he's going to be a full go. Pro Football Doc, Dr. Chow, did say that he does not expect Watson to play, and if he does, that he's likely to be limited. And that's pretty much the stance I'm taking here. Now, I'm no doctor, so I do trust his opinion more than mine. But it seems we both are thinking the same way. Watson's injury was one that hampered him last year, so they have to be a little more careful. I'm thinking he is in that 40-50% snap count, but we are still waiting on that news. We do not know exactly what that is. I think Reed is in a very interesting spot. He has been heavily targeted as a rookie, especially towards the end zone. He actually leads the team in red zone looks, red zone targets. So I'd say he is interesting as a flyer. Don't love it. He is going to be the third option, all of which are pretty interesting here. Now, Romeo Doubs, as I talked, was my favorite one. All right, so talking about the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I absolutely love if Jair Alexander does not play. If he's in, I don't really love Amon-Ra. And I'll show you why here. Last year, he faced Green Bay twice. Jair played in both games, 55 yards, 49 yards. Jair played here, didn't do much. Jair didn't play, and he goes for 8 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. This is just kind of what we see from Jair Alexander. And Jair Alexander played in the slot a lot last year, which Amon-Ra loves. So he is a guy that very well could follow Brown around. So I would be a little more cautious if Jair is playing. Now, he is still an incredible talent, and if that ownership is low, even if Jair is playing, I will be playing him. But it is big time on that ownership level. I think Marvin Jones is pretty much dust. His snap counts have been going down every week, and he's just not that good anymore. So I don't love him. And if I was looking for another receiver on the Lions, I would probably go with Khalif Raymond, who is the fourth wide receiver on their team and gaining, slight target or snap count. But I don't think he's going to jump up to, say, 50% like Jones. Just the reason being is that he's still needed on special teams. But I do like Khalif Raymond. And then Josh Reynolds. I definitely like Josh Reynolds in this matchup. More so if Alexander does play, because I think Reynolds could eat a little bit here. All in all, I think the receivers are interesting, but I do like the Packers a little bit more. Tight end wise, I think both options are very good. I think Musgrave does have a little more upside in the matchup. However, Laporta has more guaranteed target share. Laporta has been very good to start the year, and I like his talent a ton. I think that both of these guys are very much in play today and should be considered. Now let's go over the projections a little bit here so we can see some of, the lower options. Craig Reynolds, Zonovan Knight, I don't really see getting much work, maybe a couple touches at most, but they're not that into everything to be a flyer. All right. Antoine Green, got to bring him up. He hasn't got much work. Week 1, he was inactive. Week 2, he had 11% of snaps. Week 3, he had 20% of the snaps. So that snap count is rising. So it is a little bit interesting. And being completely free, maybe worth a flyer here. Donovan Wicks, I think, is probably priced up a little bit too high with Watson coming back. But anybody could get a touchdown in one game. Obviously, I like Dobbs. Christian Watson, I do have my worries that he will be on a snap count. However, if that ownership is very low, he is a game-breaking type ability. He has that ability. And so if that ownership is low, I think he is interesting because he can absolutely crush the slate versus a D that's just not that good. Don't love going to this route. Khalif Raymond, I do think is interesting, how I said. Now, the tight end spot is really why I wanted to get to the matchup part, because tight ends love to catch touchdowns. And I think that pretty much any of them can play. So Brock Wright is the tight end 2. I think he is interesting for a potential, flyer touchdown, as well as James Mitchell. Both of them will play a little bit. Both of them could catch a touchdown. And then Digura, it would probably be the guy on the Packers side that I would be interested in, as Kraft really hasn't played so far this year. Defensive wise, look, Jared Goff isn't very good outdoors, isn't very good away. So I think the Packers defense is a little bit interesting, and I would say much more interesting than the Lions, being that they are at home. I do like home defenses more than away defenses generally. So I would lean to the Packers side if I had to pick a defense. Kickers are both in play. Your guess is as good as mine as far as which one outscores the other. All in all, I think this slate is extremely interesting, and I think there's a lot of different ways to go with both teams having multiple pieces to pick from. Now, I hope you guys have a great luck today. Remember to try and get a little different. Jamming in the 5 highest player owned guys, you may cash, but it is very, very doubtful you're going to get any sort of meaningful takedown doing so. So, good luck. Try and get a little different. And let's win some money, guys. Adios.